आनंद जल्दी आ, नहीं तो मैं दारू पीना चालू कर देगा. Okay, so basically today with me on a podcast is one of my favorite guests who I'm repeating, Anand Gandhi, for an audience on a different topic. Like the escapism towards like 7 बजता है, खत्म, सूरज नीचे जाता है, ग्लास बाहर आता है, आइस क्यूब्स जाता है, दारू जाता है, और वो मेरा सेंस ऑफ रिलैक्सेशन है कि शाम हो गया है, रात होने वाला है, फिर मैं सो जाऊंगा. ये हैप्पीनेस मैं तेरे मुंह पे सुबह को देखता हूँ, जो मेरे को शाम को 7 बजे मिलता है. वो क्यों है, वो कैसे है, वो हाउ डू यू कम टू दैट हैप्पीनेस, दैट स्टेट ऑफ हैप्पीनेस? लाइक यू वेक अप, यू लाफ एट अ अनफनी जोक. I wake up, I'm angry, hungover, not laughing. So tell me how to attain your level of happiness without intoxication.
नहीं, पहले तो you are on the front line. You're fighting battles that I'm too privileged to complain.
Yeah, I was a rickshaw driver that was promoted to being a pilot overnight. मैं रिक्शा चला रहा था, suddenly retweets ने मुझे पायलट बना दिया. बोला ये रिक्शा छोड़, इधर आप प्लेन दे ले, ऑपोजिशन कुछ नहीं कर रहा है, इधर पॉडकास्ट कर.
So I cannot possibly come
No,
from a
but
place of privilege and
नहीं, privilege छोड़, but I'm just saying in general. I'm saying if I cut politics also and cut news
in your
also.
metaphor of rickshaw driver and pilot, I've trained my entire life to be a space astronaut. और मैंने अब तक मतलब spaceship में गया नहीं हूँ, मैं अभी तक simulation में ही हूँ.
Exactly.
I've trained my entire life to be ready for the most complex problems and flights that the human mind is capable of.
Yeah.
I often think of myself as that. वो पंडित की कहानी सुनी है? वो बोट में बैठता है पंडित, और वो खेवैया को बोलता है कि भाई तूने गीता पढ़ी है? खेवैया बोलता है कि नहीं, ये मतलब मैंने आम खाया है. बोलता है कि अरे तो तेरा जीवन व्यर्थ है. अच्छा चल, तूने वेद पाठ तो किए होंगे, तो वो क्या होता है? तो यार तुझे इतना भी नहीं पता वेद पाठ क्या होते हैं, तो तू जिंदा ही क्यों है? तुझे पता है, तू जीवन की नैया, जो ये तेरी नैया है ना, तेरी इसी जीवन की नैया डूब जाएगी किसी दिन. अच्छा तुझे कम से कम रिचुअल्स करता होगा, कम से कम पूजा पाठ कुछ तो करता होगा. तो नहीं, मैं तो मतलब बस नाव चलाता हूँ रोज़. तो डूब गया है, तो जन्म में डूब गया है, तेरा जन्म डूब गया है. तो ठीक है, बहुत बढ़िया. सर वैसे एक बात बता दीजिए, आपको तैरना आता है क्या? बोलते कभी नहीं, वो वक्त ही नहीं मिला.
मैं पूजा पाठ में बिजी था,
मतलब ज़रूरत ही नहीं रही कभी. अच्छा सर, क्योंकि क्या है कि ये नाव में ना हो गया है छेद. और मैं तो गया, आप डूबने वाले हो अभी. और मुझे आई ऑलवेज थॉट दैट आई एम दैट स्कॉलर इन दैट स्टोरी. मुझे हमेशा लगा कि मैं वो पंडित हूँ. And that's how I started. I mean, the first thing I did was I questioned myself. I asked myself, what would Kabir do? What would the Buddha do?
Yeah.
At the first glimpse of meaning, at the first glimpse of the semblance of something that can be invented as meaning, what did they do? People who I have benefited from, whose work I have benefited. What did they do? I thought they put it out. They told stories. They made them into stories. They made them into poetry. तो मुझे लगा सबसे पहले तो ये ज़रूरी है कि जो जितना दिखा है, हो सकता है मुझे बहुत कम दिखा हो अब तक, पर जितना दिखा है उतना तो मुझे दे देना चाहिए, मुझे लोगों को दे देना चाहिए. इसलिए शिप ऑफ थीसिस वहाँ से आई. नाउ दिस इज व्हाट आई थिंक अबाउट एनीथिंग दैट आई पुट आउट. यू नीड टू सी इट एज अ लाइट emanating from a star that's light years away. कि between the time that I understood something, I realized something, and by the time it reaches the world, so much time has passed that the scope of my understanding, the map that I've been creating,
keeps increasing.
It has gone tenfold.
Yeah.
So with that disclaimer, I'll share what I have right now.
Of course.
What I'm sharing right now is what I've managed to distill from realization from years ago.
Yeah.
So सबसे पहला तो ये है कि मतलब हमें खुशी क्यों होती है और हमें पेन क्यों होता है. On this planet life disperses because of erosion, because of radiation, right? If you are a creature on this planet, there are forces acting upon you, and you will invariably die.
Right.
Death is certain on this planet. Right?
It comes gifted with life.
With life, there is dispersion, there is erosion, there is radiation, there is death. In spite of that, life managed to stay around for 3 billion years. How? By making copies of itself, by producing children, by having progeny. And that's how life moves forward, by making a better copy of itself, an updated version of itself, with a slight variation, with a slight change. And then all these changes are thrown at the environment, and the environment becomes a filter.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how life continues evolving. This is what we call evolution. Life has been evolving for billions of years and accumulating strategies and passing these strategies forward.
Right.
All the behaviors that we experience have come through life. So I'll give you another example of behaviors. We experience pain. What is pain? You have tissue damage. If your body is experiencing any kind of tissue damage, your body sends an alarm signal for two reasons, for two purposes. One is so that you remove your body from the way of danger, and the second is so that you let it heal, so that you give it the necessary attention.
Yeah.
That's the function of that alarm signal, and that's very well understood now. But there is something really interesting that has happened with pain. While pain is an alarm signal that the body has evolved to have, there are certain circumstances under which we use vivek, we use reason, we use evidence-based reason to shut our bodies up.
For example, if you're going to get your wisdom tooth removed.
For example, if you're going to get your wisdom tooth removed, surgery is a great example.
Anesthesia.
Similarly, social norms, civilization give us social anesthesia. We preemptively shut our body up when we know that the hatred or the anger or the fear that our body is producing is actually misplaced, is a misinterpretation of the situation. We tell our body that shut up, you're wrong. When we evolved in forest and savanna environments, there were 5,000 human beings alive. So if a mating partner is taken away from you by an individual of your gender, your body produces a warning signal. Like pain, it produces jealousy. It says, go do something about it, go and secure it. Your body produces profound urgency, right? Now there are 7 billion of us.
Is that urgency needed?
Is that urgency needed?
Not at all.
But our body produces it.
Why?
Our body produces it the same way it produces pain during surgery. Our body does not know. Go into the nature and you hear millions of birds and animals cooing and constantly making these beautiful sounds. It's basically millions of animals looking for sex and killing each other.
Right.
All the time. A lot of people in the last century, a lot of mystics, a lot of thinkers and philosophers of the last 2 centuries believed that a lot of these behaviors are caused by human causes. They were invented by humans.
Right.
That's a big fallacy. That's a massive fallacy. These were not invented by humans. This is the nature of life itself. Humans, on the other hand, need to be criticized for not fighting that nature sufficiently.
Right.
For giving into that nature. So that's a reality of life, but we have corrected upon that reality. We have built a civilization where we have said, no, let's create a system, let's create a massive, complex ecosystem of humans where that is not allowed, where that is not acceptable. We have created that system. Now, what is the basis of that system? There are two areas. One is the freedom of choice. Based on hindsight, you should be able to foresee and choose, and be able to choose between various things that you want to choose. That's one. Freedom of choice. The second is, where does your choice end and where does your choice start violating my choice making? So, you should have the ability to swing your arm in any direction you want to.
That's freedom.
That's freedom. But your freedom of swinging your arm in any direction you want to ends at the freedom of my nose not wanting to be whacked. Your freedom ends where my nose begins. Right? Now, this is the difference between truth and obfuscation. Truth is, my nose is on my face.
Yes.
It can be physically measured, observed, determined.
Yeah.
Obfuscation is me coming and claiming that no, my nose is in your house.
Yeah.
In fact, when you are on the other part of the world and when you are swinging your arm around, you hurt my sentimental nose. मेरी भावनाओं का क्या, मेरी जो फीलिंग है कि तुमने तो स्विंग किया, उसमें मेरा नोज डैमेज हुआ, तुम मानो ना मानो. The entire negotiation of civilization happens in that area, on that cusp of determining where my arm ends and your nose begins. Now, how do you determine that? There, you need to fall back on evidence-based truth. There, you need to fall back on gravity. There, you need to fall back on what can be observed and understood. So that's why truth is necessary. So that's the thing. In the last century, we have conflated all our premises up a lot. And that's why there is so much mumbo jumbo in this space. And mumbo jumbo is across the board. I'm not saying that there is no mumbo jumbo in academia. There is enough mumbo jumbo in academia as well, and there is of course a lot of mumbo jumbo in the spiritual world, where the entire argument is based on creating what I call irreducible wholes. Basically, say bringing everything down to that one agent that is outside of you. You call it force, you call it quantum energy. Once upon a time, the same people were calling it God. You call it something that is higher power than you. By establishing this notion that there is something that is outside of your control and outside of your agency, who is determining everything for you, who is taking all your choices, making all your choices, you are making people highly irresponsible towards the choices that they have to make when they go to vote, towards understanding what policies that their politicians are making, towards understanding how is their action or inaction directly contributing to their being hungry children. Not about how many children you fed biscuits to. You might be a very charitable, empathetic person at an individual level, but you may still be a part of a larger collective system which is highly apathetic.
Towards the same forces you are empathetic in your personal life.
In your personal life, and not realize that. And that realization has to come through truly understanding all the components that make a whole. And the whole is greater or different from the sum of its parts. We know that. Because the whole is made up of not only the sum of the parts, but the sum of all the interactions between the parts.
For example, what is a person? What are the desires of that person? And how can that person achieve happiness? You're saying science can define it better than any mystic that's alive or dead.
So I'll tell you what science can do and what science does not need to do. Firstly, let's kind of negotiate with this idea of happiness and suffering. Right?
Okay.
Suffering tells you that there is something wrong with your life. It's a pain alarm. It's an alarm bell that goes off constantly that tells you that you don't have enough resources. The constant signaling of the lack of resources, lack of opportunities, lack of or fatality, the constant potential fatality, the signaling of that is called pain, is called suffering.
And that signal can sometimes be wrong also, right?
And that signal can sometimes be wrong because natural selection has led to creation of signals that may be 6 out of 10 times wrong, but the 4 times it's right, it's saving your life. So the 6 times that it's wrong, it's allowed to be wrong. And that's why we have mental health disorders which come without cause. Because anxiety saved our asses in forest and savanna environments.
Yeah.
So now we have the mutation, we have the experience of anxiety even when there is no cause sometimes.
Yeah.
Because 4 out of 10 times in forest environments it has saved our lives. Right? So we have mental health disorders as one of the reasons. It's the flip coin of natural selection, where the same smoke alarm that could save your life, but because 8 out of 10 times it's going off without any cause, it's also annoying the hell out of you and sometimes even debilitating. So that's suffering. Now happiness. What is happiness? Happiness is the exact opposite of suffering in that sense. Happiness is a reward mechanism that your body has been designed to have to do anything that is life sustaining. When you are eating, when you get food, when you get to food and when you start eating, the feeling of pleasure is life's way of rewarding you for sustaining it. A hen is an egg's way of laying another egg.
Got it.
So you are your gene's way of making more copies.
Got it.
You are your software's method of making more copies of themselves.
Yeah.
But I've arrived at these ideas after decades of reflection. So I'm trying to give you illustrations that will help people visualize these insights.
Yeah.
Why am I saying this? Why am I saying that you are your gene's way of making more copies of themselves, right? Let's take two examples. One example is the Herringle example. Tinbergen ने Herringles को स्टडी किया और देखा कि जब अंडे पकते हैं और उसमें से चिक्स बाहर आते हैं, they look around for adult gulls.
Yeah.
And they start pecking on their beaks. When they peck on the beak, it's a sign कि अभी मेरे को खाना दो. That's like a child tugging at the mother saying मेरे को खाना खाना है, भूख लगी है and माँ खाना खिलाती है. तो यही सिलसिला है हर जगह पे, हर स्पीसीज में. अभी टिनबर्गर ने एक सवाल पूछा जो किसी ने वो सवाल आज तक पूछा नहीं था, या तो साइंटिफिकली पूछा नहीं था, और अगर पूछा होता तो उस पर अमल नहीं किया था उस सवाल पे. बहुत अच्छा सवाल पूछा टिनबर्गर ने कि बच्चा जब माँ को देख रहा है तो माँ को आइडेंटिफाई क्या देख के कर रहा है,
कि इसको कैसे पता है मेरी माँ है?
ये कैसे पता कि ये अडल्ट ये हेरिंगल है, ये पेड़ को क्यों नहीं काट रहा है?
हाँ एग्जैक्टली.
या अगर यहाँ पे मतलब कोई बंदर बैठा है तो बंदर को क्यों नहीं बोल रहा है? ये इसको कैसे पता है ये हेरिंगल है?
हाँ,
ये अच्छा सवाल है, सही बात है. सो टिनबर्गर ने देखा कि यार ये जो चिड़िया है, ये जो हेरिंगल है, वो बीक को पैक करती है खाना मांगने के लिए. सो दे गेट एक्साइटेड व्हेन दे सी द मदर एंड दे स्टार्ट पैकिंग द बीक. सो टिनबर्गर ने एक एक्सपेरिमेंट किया. ही टुक जस्ट द बीक ऑफ अ डिसएम्बॉडीड बीक. एक मरे हुए पंछी की सिर्फ चोंच ली उसने और चिमटे पे चोंच लगा के उसने बच्चों को दिखाई. showed the chicks of the girl. They showed just as much excitement as they would show when they see their mother. सिर्फ चोंच देख के वो लोग इतने खुश हो गए जितने वो अपनी माँ को देख के होंगे.
मैं समझ गया.
करेक्ट. अभी ये क्यों हो रहा है? आप देखो कि सिनेमा में हम जब देखते हैं कि if you look at sensuality in cinema, right? A man's body, just the physical outline of the body, that the muscular curves would be shown in shadow somewhere, and would be quite attractive for a lot of women watching. And likewise, if a woman's outline of a body is shown behind the curtains in sensual cinema, that already starts invoking a sense of attractiveness in the gaze of the audience.
Got it.
The male audience perhaps, or whatever, the audience that is attracted to that gender. It's the same principle at work. You see, life has evolved to be extremely resource conservative. टू प्रोसेस एनी डेटा, आपके कंप्यूटर पे कुछ भी डेटा प्रोसेस करते हो तो आपका रैम ब्लॉक हो जाता है ना. 4 सॉफ्टवेयर चालू हो जाएंगे, 5वां सॉफ्टवेयर चालू नहीं हो पाएगा, कंप्यूटर हैंग होने लगेगा. टू प्रोसेस डेटा, टू प्रोसेस इंफॉर्मेशन इज एक्सट्रीमली रिसोर्स इंटेंसिव. सो बायोलॉजी में भी सेम चक्कर है. तो बायोलॉजी ने इसके लिए क्या किया है? लाइफ ने उसके लिए क्या टेक्निक ढूंढी है? लाइफ ने उसके लिए एक टेक्निक ढूंढी है. लाइफ ने हर चीज़ का एक फिंगरप्रिंट निकाला है. जैसे वो बॉडी का जो शैडो है, वो जो कर्व है, ह्यूमन बॉडी का जो कर्व है, बाइपेडल शैडो सिलुएट, वो हमारा फिंगरप्रिंट है. नो अदर एनिमल लुक्स लाइक दैट. करेक्ट. कोई भी एनिमल को आप कर्टन के पीछे रखोगे तो उसका शेप वैसा नहीं आएगा. सो दैट्स इनफ, दैट शेप इज इनफ फॉर अस टू रिकॉग्नाइज दैट देयर इज अ ह्यूमन बीइंग बिहाइंड दैट कर्टन. करेक्ट. लाइकवाइज, herringulls have a fingerprint, have a thumbprint, have a metaphor for the beak, for the bird. कि ये जो पीला broad beak है, मोटा at the base and tapering towards the end, पतला towards the end, और जो पीला बेस हो और लाल उस पर बड़ा डॉट हो, ये जब देखो तब याद रखो ये माँ है.
हाँ, कुछ खाना मिलेगा, ये माँ है. इसको पैक करो, वो माँ है, क्योंकि वो वही देख पा रहा है.
उतना ही देखना जरूरी है उसके लिए, क्योंकि what are the chances that a human being will have the same beak or that a tiger will have the same beak?
Got it.
In nature, species have unique identification and identifying markers, and the individuals of each species recognize those markers and look out for those markers
Got it.
when they want to recognize each other. Instead of having to process the entire mother in all its complexity, सारी बाकी विंडोज बंद हो जाएगी उसके कंप्यूटर की. खाली beak is enough so that they can process other things in the environment simultaneously.
Got it.
Because like I said, processing information of your environment is extremely data expensive. It's extremely expensive, energy expensive. तो आप सिर्फ उतना ही प्रोसेस करो जितनी जरूरत है. So following this intuition, following this instinct, he said कि एक मिनट तो फिर पूरा beak भी क्यों प्रोसेस कर रहे हैं? There is a very high likelihood that they are processing some very small characteristics and traits of the beak. So finally, he created an object, broad at the base, tapering towards the end of the beak shape, cardboard basically. उसको white paint किया, उस पर बड़ा black dot लगाया, contrast बढ़ाने के लिए. और उसके पीछे white lines लगाई, और वो दिखाया. Now, this is one of the most important experiments of the century, and it's a shame that we don't know about it enough. It's easily one of the most significant experiments of the century, which tells us so much about our behavior and about our lives. And I must tell you this, Kunal. Ethologists, people who study human behavior or animal behavior in general, know all of this. It's fascinating that the bridge between ethologists and people outside of investigation, outside of inquiry, is broken. We were supposed to be bridges. देखो यार, आप जो कर रहे हो फाइनली, या आज आप ये जो काम कर रहे हो, यही हमारा फंक्शन है दुनिया में, कि वी लुक एट द ग्रेटेस्ट breakthroughs, the greatest insights that we have at our disposal as a civilization, as humanity, and make them available for people.
फिर क्या कार्डबोर्ड के साथ जब एक्सपेरिमेंट किया तो
उसमें क्या हुआ? इसमें ये हुआ कि the herringull chicks went berserk with excitement, started pecking at that with even greater excitement than they showed for their mothers. Now, there are two fascinating things that we need to study here. One is that they reacted to it. They responded to the stimulus. Right? They recognized that that's their mother. Falsely in this case, fake news. Secondly, not only did they respond to it, they responded to it with even greater vigor and greater intensity. आप सोचिए, आप हेरिंगल हो और आप एक शाना हेरिंगल हो,
जिसको पता है कि ये मेरी माँ नहीं है,
जिसको पता है, खुद को पता है नहीं जरूरी नहीं है, पर उसको इतना पता है कि ये जो कार्डबोर्ड है ना, इस पे डॉट लगाओ और इसको बेचो, ये सारे हेरिंगल के बच्चे मतलब इस पे पागल हो जाते हैं. इसको बेचो, 50-50 पैसे में इसको बेचो मार्केट में जाके. सारे बच्चे देखो बाद में कैसे पागल हो जाते हैं, माँ को देखेंगे नहीं, खाना देखेंगे नहीं, सिर्फ इस पे पड़े रहेंगे पूरा टाइम,
टॉय के साथ खेलते हैं,
ये टॉय के साथ खेलते रहेंगे. बेचो इसको जरा. तो वो हेरिंगल जो है वो तो दबा के बेचेगा उसको.
एग्जैक्टली.
वो दबा के बेचेगा और पूरा का पूरा मार्केट क्या बन जाएगा, वो टॉय प्रोड्यूस करने के पीछे.
गॉट इट.
तो मार्केट फोर्स कोई ऐसा नहीं कि किसी ने प्लान करके बनाई है, कि बीच बीच में एवरी वंस इन अ व्हाइल somebody cracks a hack and says कि काम करते हैं अपन जो इंसानों के लिए ना ये स्टिमुलस बनाते हैं, ये स्टिमुलस को पैक करते हैं. इनफैक्ट दिस इज अ वेल रिकग्नाइज्ड फैक्ट नाउ. वी नो दिस वेरी वेल that social media companies, junk food companies have neuroscientists working within their departments to study where the peak shift happens. This principle is called the peak shift principle in neuroscience. That this principle that we can distill कि आपको आपके आसपास अगर पेड़ पौधे नहीं हैं तो होटल में आप प्लास्टिक के ट्री लगा दो, हर जगह पे प्लास्टिक ट्रीज लगा दो. वो भले फल नहीं देता है पर आपको एक सेंस ऑफ शांति देता है कुछ हद तक, till you start feeling frustrated by it. Now that's why it's short-lived. Now I'll come to why it's short-lived. It's short-lived because it goes through what I call the cry-wolf syndrome. Okay, I call this the cry-wolf syndrome. Cry-wolf syndrome क्या है? Cry-wolf syndrome ये है कि भाई आपको cry-wolf की तो कहानी पता है?
Of course.
कि भाई एक आदमी है जो खेत में रोज जाके बच्चा लोगों को जमा करने के लिए रोज जाके बोल रहा है भेड़ आ गया.
Exactly.
हाँ, अरे लोग जमा हो जाते हैं, भेड़िया आ गया. आते हैं, वो हंसता है जोर से कि नहीं भेड़िया तो था ही नहीं, मैंने आपको उल्लू बनाया, जाओ वापस. सब लोग चले जाते हैं, रोज ये चलता है. एक दिन भेड़िया आता है और वो चिल्लाता है और कोई सुनता नहीं है उसको। तो क्राई वुल्फ सिंड्रोम यानी जब कोई चिल्ला के कुछ मैसेज देता है आपको, कोई ऑब्जेक्ट, कोई चीज़, कोई इंसान, और वो बार बार झूठ निकलता है, तो आपका जो हैप्पीनेस होता है उसके प्रति, आपका जो रिस्पॉन्स होता है, जो इनबिल्ट रिस्पॉन्स है, वो कम होते जाता है, राइट? So similarly,
you make that progress in every department of your life.
Exactly.
Like art that once you like,
absolutely,
you grow out of it.
And the reason you grow out of it is because of the Crye Wolf syndrome. Because you start realizing it's lying, and you start seeing through the lie.
Music you once like, you go out of it. Drugs you once like, you go out of it.
Exactly.
It's just that where you go from there.
Now, because you can't go anywhere from there. It's a loop. It's a loop that you keep going to dead ends to, and that's why you reach this place where you're like, fuck, अभी क्या करें? Because you were on the wrong path all along. हमारा जो सॉफ्टवेयर बना है वो बना है 3 लाख साल पहले। हमारे अंदर जो हर अपने बॉडी के हर एक पुद्गल में, हर एक सेल में जो सॉफ्टवेयर चल रहा है, जो जेनेटिक सॉफ्टवेयर चल रहा है, उसका निर्माण तो हुआ था 3 लाख साल पहले,
बहुत पहले।
सो वो जो मैं बोल रहा था ना कि हेरिंगल बिलियनर, द हेरिंगल बिलियनर हु लुक्स इनटू दिस एंड सेज, अरे यार ये चोंच बनाओ, धबाधब लोग खरीदते हैं। दैट इज व्हाट आवर बिलियनर्स एंड आवर पॉलिटिशियंस आर।
सेम।
दैट्स व्हाट मोस्ट ऑफ आवर बिलियनर्स एंड पॉलिटिशियंस आर एंगेज्ड इन डूइंग। They are making that change. They may not necessarily realize the science behind it,
but they are doing exactly.
आपके लास्ट सेंचुरी के spiritual leaders, political leaders, policy makers, economic thinkers, everyone kept harping on happiness index. But happiness index यानी क्या? Happiness is only a tool that your body has produced. It's a reward tool that your body has created, that evolution has created to make you, to tell you that this is good for you. And that tool is easily tweaked and hacked into. So it's not a reliable tool. But wellness, a long-term sense of well-being, that's a reliable tool. Anybody who shares the idea of collective well-being that you share becomes your kin, and you want more people to participate in that kinship, in that collective humanity, in collective kinship, right? And if that is the function of your life, then we can easily shift the focus from happiness. And the moment we shift the focus from happiness, happiness happens.
So if we have to make this into a bumper sticker, is avoid temporary happiness for long-term well-being.
Yes, definitely. 100%.
That's a bumper sticker you endorse?
That's a great bumper sticker.
I'm going to put it on your car before we go.
But at the same time, if you dedicate your life towards producing long-term well-being for the future of humanity, in ways that are actually going to produce well-being for people, that are actually going to give people a wide variety of opportunities at finding their own well-being and measures of well-being. Give them allow them for the freedom to swing their arm and stop that freedom at the beginning of another's nose.
Yeah.
When you kind of when you work in those areas, when you work in those directions, then you will start producing some semblance of well-being and meaning for yourself.
Yeah.
Which will come from multiple sources, which will come from having a sense of meaning, having a sense of purpose that you have invented by participating in this larger function of civilization. And secondly, from having a sense of equanimity, and this is strongly a prescription for people who have resources and opportunities. This in no way is a prescription towards people
whose society is already oppressing,
who are being oppressed and whose right to happiness has been violated.
Yeah, okay? We are not talking to them.
I'm talking about people like you and me. In the past, a lot of people have said wellness exists. Wellness comes to you when you don't have happiness or sorrow, when you're in a constant state of nothingness, when you have no thought in your. I think all of that is bullshit. I don't think humanity is built on thoughtlessness or feelinglessness.
But most of disasters are also thoughtfulness and overflowing thoughts. Like Hitler, if he had lesser thoughts, he would be a better person for humanity.
I doubt that. I think Hitler was Hitler because he had lesser thought and he had lesser visibility and he had lesser understanding.
Okay.
And if you look across animal kingdom, see, we romanticize animal kingdom a lot, and we critique humanity as if all of these are specific to humanity, as if it's a human invention. Hitler is not a human invention. A Hitler exists in pretty much every species out there. An individual that considers its own gene pool the most important gene pool that has to survive and kill every other gene pool out there exists in ants, exists in termites, exists in bees. A Hitler exists in every bee colony. A Hitler exists in every ant colony. Red ants, Amazon's fire ants, are doing genocide on every other ant species on the planet constantly. So this notion, this idea that Hitler is a human invention, whereas Animal Kingdom is very beautiful, is a very fallacious idea. It's a false idea.
So no thought is no way forward.
No thought is actually becoming an ant, becoming an Amazon fire ant that kills every species, that commits genocide upon genocide on every species. Hitler is a representation of that. Ambedkar is a representation of civilization, of civil thought, of curing our natural instincts, of how to arrive at a world which is not like jungle.
Yeah.
Which is not like the life of Amazon's fire ants, which is not the life of
collective thought,
which is not driven by the pure instinct of making more of your genes and killing every other.
Yeah, I got it.
Which is a natural instinct.
Yeah, we've got a fun conversation here.
Yeah,
I don't know what people will say to all of this. I think the one comment that I expect on a podcast like this is. आपने बातें तो बहुत सही बोली है पर इससे मेरा क्या लेना देना
2000 years ago, at least in this apocryphal story, may or may not be true, but a lot of people, a huge number of people on this planet believe it's a true story, so let's accept it at face value. 2000 years ago approximately, a man was nailed to a tree, to a cross, to a piece of wood, for saying it would be splendid if people were nice to each other. 2000 years down the line, we're still debating whether we should be nice to each other or not. So something as simple as that, if it's taking 2000 years, then I'm quite aware of the fact that the things that I'm saying are extremely complex and will take a little while for people to be able to absorb.
Yeah, that's
I'm not saying that I'm smarter or more important or more relevant than the man who got nailed to the tree.
Yeah.
But I have one huge benefit over him.
Yeah.
I've read him.
Yeah.
I come 2000 years after him.
Yeah.
And that's a benefit that you and I have over people who have been around.
I just hope books are not sold and an institutional religion is not made out of you. That's my only hope. And I think with that hope we survive and struggle. And it's a good time.
Everything that I say within my lifetime should be revalued, replaced and updated
by somebody as qualified as you.
Yeah.